Hi guys, it is Mrs. Taranja with the Citizenship Academy. Today we are doing lesson 4 of astronomy, learning about the solar system. So we have two things that we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to be talking about compare and contrast, and we're going to do some practice with suffix. There's two suffixes we're going to talk about today. Now, before I get into the lesson, for tomorrow's lesson, there is no video to go along with it. It's going to be a continuation of what we're learning about today. So that'll help you to complete that assignment. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be working with compare and contrast. My thing wants to work. Okay. What is compare and contrast? When we compare and contrast things, we're trying to find out if what is the same and what is different about two or more things. Sometimes you might be asked to compare 3 things, sometimes 4, but for the most part, right now we're going to just be doing 2. Tomorrow you're going to be comparing 3. So this chart that I have here, this is used as those are keywords. Those are words that you'll often see that you'll use when you're comparing and contrasting. So for compare, you're going to use same, both, alike, similar, compared to, also, in the same way, to. Those are all keywords that you'll use to compare. When we're talking about contrast, it's different, unlike, but, instead of, in contrast to, on the other hand, however, while. Those are the keywords for contrast. Compare is same, contrast is different. Do not get those two confused. Compare, the same, contrast, different. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to read little snippets from your readers about the inner planet and the outer planet, because that's actually what we're going to be comparing and contrasting today. So the first one we're going to look at is the outer planets. So these are 2 little snippets that I pulled from our outer planet. So let's reread those. Do you remember the names of the 4 planets closest to the sun? If you said Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, you were right. There are 4 planets called the outer planets. So there are 8 planets in all. Jupiter is the very next planet after Mars. After Jupiter comes Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune in that order. Neptune is the planet that is farthest from the sun. Uranus is difficult to see with the naked eye, and Neptune is impossible to see without help. Neptune is only visible using a telescope. The outer planets are very large and are mostly made of gas. Scientists often call these planets gas giants. Of all the planets, Jupiter is the largest. 1,300 Earths could fit inside Jupiter. It is made mostly of hydrogen gas, the most common gas in the universe. So that's the text we have for outer planets. Now we're going to look at the text we have for inner planets. I only pulled a little bit because a lot of that that chapter kind of broke up by planets, and I wanted to just get something whole that talked about the inner planets. The 4 planets closest to the sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, are small planets. These planets have a rocky or solid surface. Mercury and Venus are closer to the sun than Earth. The other planets are farther away. Earth needs 365 days to make one orbit around the sun. That is the length of 1 year on Earth. The closer a planet is to the sun, the less time it needs to make an orbit around the sun. Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. It needs just 88 days to make one orbit. Venus is the next closest to the sun. It needs just 225 days to make an orbit. The planets that are farther away take much longer. It takes Neptune 165 years to orbit the sun. So now what we're going to be doing is, and I've already created it, we're going to compare and contrast these 2 texts. What is the same and what is different? And the way we're going to do that is by a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is when we have 2 circles that are interlocked that have sections where we can write things that are different and one section where they can write the same. I've already completed my Venn diagram, so you'll be able to see how I compared and contrasted these texts. So this is my Venn diagram that I created. This side of my Venn diagram is about the inner planets. This side is about the outer planets. And obviously, as you can tell, if I were to write things in there, you would not be able to see. So I drew an arrow down. These are my notes about them being the same. When it's not connected, this means that only inner planets have this. If it's on this side or on another section, this is the outer planets. When you see that they're connected, that means that's the point that they are the same. So these are our contrast, This is our compare. So some of the things that I took from the reading is the inner planets include Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, that they all have a rocky solid surface, and it takes them less time to orbit the sun. That's what I took from the text. For outer planets, it includes Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They are mostly made of gas, and it takes them longer to orbit. They even said that Neptune takes 165 years. So those were the things that made these two different. For them to be the same, the middle is going to show how these are the same. So they both are made of planets. There are 4 planets in each of them, and they all orbit the sun. That is all how they are the same. So this is a great way to organize your thoughts. I know I like seeing it in a picture form because I can see how they are different and how they are the same. It's a little bit easier to read. So a lot of times you're going to be given writing assignments where you're going to be asked to write a compare and contrast piece. You're not going to be able to always have a Venn diagram. So I actually did an example of how I would answer a question of how do I compare and contrast inner planets from outer planets. It's really important that you use your Venn diagram information to strengthen your answer. Now, there is going to be times where you're not going to have a Venn diagram available, but if you have a scrap paper, you can easily draw one really, really quick to be able to organize your thoughts before you write. So here's what I took from my Venn diagram. The inner and outer planets are the same and different. Inner planets include Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Their surfaces are rocky and solid, and it takes them less time to orbit the sun. The outer planets include Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These planets are made of mostly gas, and it takes them more time to orbit the sun. The inner and outer planets are similar because they both contain 4 planets in each, and they all orbit the sun. That is my way of including everything that's different about them and the things that are the same. This is a strong writing for compare and contrast. For your assignment for tomorrow, you're going to be asked to compare and contrast 3 different things. And it's really, really important that you if you really need to use a Venn diagram, please use it. It's very, very helpful, I know, for me. Now, obviously, it's really hard for you to be able to have a Venn diagram online, so you can actually create a Venn diagram. And if you want to send me a picture of it, that'd be awesome because I'd love to see it. Now we're going to get into suffixes. So there's 2 suffixes we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the first one, which is full. When I have the suffix full, it means full of. Suffixes come at the end of a word. Please make sure you remember that. When we're talking about prefixes, pre means before. So a prefix comes at the beginning of the word. We're talking about suffixes. They come at the end. So the suffix full, if I'm writing it in a word, it only has 1 L, even though it technically means full of, which has a double L in the word full. When we're writing the suffix full, do not put 2 L's, it's only 1. So if you have the word hope, remember this is our root or base word. If I have the root or base word of hope and I want to be full of hope, I'm then hopeful. If I want to be full of fear, I'm fearful. If I want to be full of pain, painful. Full of power, powerful. Full of care, careful. These are all examples of ways that you can add full to the end of a root or base word. The next suffix we're going to talk about is less. If I'm adding less to the end of a word, it means I'm lacking it. It means I don't have that. It actually means the opposite of full. If I'm full of something, I have a lot of it. If I'm lacking or if I'm less, I don't have as much. So those are actually opposites. They're antonyms. So we took the exact same words, the same base words we just talked about, and now we're going to be lacking it. So if I'm lacking hope, I'm hopeless. If I'm lacking fear, I'm fearless. If I'm lacking pain, I'm painless. If I'm lacking power, I'm powerless. If I'm lacking care, I'm careless. So those are ways to show that I do not have those things. So for your exit ticket today, You're actually going to be figuring out the correct suffix that needs to go to make a sentence complete. That is the assignment you are going to be completing when you get off this video. Reminder, tomorrow there is no video to go along with the lesson. It is a continuation of the lesson I'm teaching today. So if for any reason you get confused about what you need to do tomorrow, please rewatch this video and it will help you along. And I cannot wait to see all of your great work for tomorrow. I hope you all have a great night. Bye.